Welcome back to LexTalks Legal Topics Simplified.
Oh,
We're diving deep into a concept that's foundational for any aspiring lawyer,
yeah.
meaning a concept,
Mm-hmm.
environmental pollution, need for environmental protection.
It might seem basic at first, but trust me, this idea touches every corner of the legal world,
Yeah,
from property rights to international treaties.
exactly. And for law students in India, understanding how India tackles these issues is crucial for your future careers.
Right.
We've got a stack of legal text, academic papers, and even some recent case studies to dig into.
Sounds good.
So I'm curious, when you hear the word environment, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
Honestly, it used to be just nature documentaries, pristine forests and exotic animals.
Right.
But as I got deeper into law, I realized it's so much broader than that.
Yeah.
It's about the air we breathe, the water we drink, the cities we live in. It's the entire system that supports life, including us.
It really is all-encompassing, isn't it?
It is.
And that's where things get legally interesting. Our sources define environment as the sum total of all living and non-living things,
Okay.
and their effects on human life.
Yeah.
So it's not just about protecting cute animals, it's about safeguarding the systems that keep humanity thriving.
Right. And one of our sources pointed out that the word environment comes from the old French word environner,
Yeah.
meaning to encircle or to surround.
Oh, interesting.
I think that's a great way to visualize it. The environment isn't just out there somewhere, it's everything that surrounds and sustains us.
I love that. It makes it so much more tangible.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, we have the not-so-fun topic of pollution.
Right.
And it's not just about factories spewing smoke,
Yeah.
which, by the way, one of our sources mentions is a major problem for the Taj Mahal,
Oh, really?
leading to discoloration of its beautiful white marble.
Wow.
Air pollution is a serious legal issue in India, with cases popping up all over the country.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that pollution isn't just about visible things like smog or trash. Noise pollution, light pollution, even soil contamination.
Yeah.
These are all major legal battlegrounds.
So many different angles to consider. But before we get into those, I'm curious about the big picture.
Okay.
Why has environmental protection become such a hot-button legal issue?
Well, one of our sources dives into this, highlighting how India's rapid industrialization and urbanization have put immense pressure on the environment. It's a classic case of development versus sustainability.
It is, and the consequences are becoming impossible to ignore. We're seeing increased health problems linked to pollution,
Wow.
water scarcity issues, and even climate change impacts,
Yeah,
like more extreme weather events.
absolutely.
All of these have huge social and economic costs.
They do.
Yeah.
It's not just an environmental issue, it's a human rights issue, a
Yeah.
public health issue, an economic issue.
It is. And that's why environmental protections become so central in legal discussions. It's no longer just about conserving pristine wilderness. It's about protecting the very foundations of human well-being.
Right. And how has India responded to this challenge from a legal standpoint?
Yeah, what have they done?
Well, interestingly, India was one of the first countries to incorporate environmental protection into its constitution. Articles 48A and 51A specifically state the duty of both the state and citizens to protect and improve the environment. This is huge
Yeah.
because it establishes environmental protection as a fundamental principle right from the start.
That's pretty forward thinking.
Yeah.
But how do these constitutional principles translate into actual laws?
Well, one of the most important pieces of legislation is the Environmental Protection Act of 1986.
Okay.
It's like the cornerstone of Indian environmental law. It gives the government broad powers to regulate pollution, set environmental standards, and even hold individuals and companies accountable for environmental damage.
So it's not just words on paper, there are actual mechanisms for enforcement.
Exactly. And this act has been used to tackle a wide range of issues from industrial pollution to hazardous waste management. The sources we have mention several landmark cases where the courts have used the Environmental Protection Act to shut down polluting industries, impose hefty fines, and even send people to jail for environmental
It
crimes.
sounds like India is really taking this seriously.
They are.
But what about those landmark cases you mentioned?
Yeah.
Any that really stand out as game changers?
Definitely. The Ganga pollution case, for instance, was a turning point. The Supreme Court stepped in to address the severe pollution of the Ganges River, which is considered sacred in India. The court didn't just order polluters to clean up their act, it also laid down some important legal principles that have shaped environmental law ever since.
Like what kind of principles are we talking about here?
Well, one key principle is the precautionary principle.
Hmm.
It basically says that if there's a risk of serious environmental damage, even if the science isn't 100% certain, we should err on the side of caution and take steps to prevent that harm. It shifts the burden of proof onto those who are potentially polluting rather than waiting for definitive proof of harm before acting.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about preventing environmental problems before they become irreversible.
Exactly. Another important principle that emerged from these cases is the polluter pays principle. It means that whoever causes environmental damage should be responsible for cleaning it up and compensating those who are affected. This principle has been used to hold industries accountable for pollution and force them to internalize the costs of their actions.
So it's not just about punishing polluters, it's about making them responsible for the damage they cause. This seems to align with the concept of sustainable development.
Absolutely. Sustainable development is all about finding ways to meet our current needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And that requires balancing economic growth with environmental protection. The polluter pays principle helps to ensure that industries don't externalize the costs of their pollution onto society and future generations.
Those principles are so important. They're like the guiding lights of environmental law in India.
They are, and they've had a real impact. For example, one of our sources mentioned the Tamil Nadu tanneries case, where the Supreme Court ordered the closure of tanneries that were polluting the Paler River. This case wasn't just about protecting the environment, it was about protecting the health and livelihoods of the people who depended on that river.
It shows how environmental law is ultimately about protecting people and their well-being.
Exactly. It's about ensuring that everyone has the right to live in a healthy and sustainable environment. And that right is becoming increasingly recognized as essential for human dignity and development.
It's amazing how much has changed in just a few decades. Environmental protection has gone from being a niche concern to a central issue in law and policy.
It has. And for aspiring lawyers like yourselves, understanding these fundamental principles in landmark cases is crucial. Because as we've seen, environmental law isn't just about abstract concepts, it's about real-world issues that affect people's lives in profound ways.
So it's not just about knowing the law, it's about understanding how it's used to protect the environment and ensure a sustainable future.
Exactly. It's about using the law as a tool for positive change.
And that brings me to another fascinating area our sources touched on, the public trust doctrine. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, absolutely. It's becoming increasingly important in environmental law. It essentially says that certain natural resources like rivers, forests, and coastlines are held in trust by the government for the benefit of the public.
So they belong to everyone.
In essence, yes. The government has a duty to protect these resources and ensure they're available for public use and enjoyment now and in the future. It prevents them from being sold off to private interests or exploited in a way that harms the public good.
I love that idea. It reminds me of those ancient cultures that saw certain natural features as sacred and worthy of protection.
Exactly. It's a recognition that some things are simply too precious to be treated as commodities.
And how is this doctrine being used in India?
Well, our sources mention several cases where the public trust doctrine has been invoked to protect ecologically sensitive areas from development, ensure access to clean water sources, and even challenge government decisions that prioritize private interests over the public good.
That's incredible. So this seemingly simple concept is actually a powerful tool for environmental protection.
It is. And it reflects a growing global trend towards recognizing the intrinsic value of nature and the rights of future generations.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. We've gone from the very definition of environment to exploring landmark cases, key legislation, and even these overarching principles that guide environmental law. What stands out to you as the most crucial takeaway for aspiring lawyers?
For me, it's the interconnectedness of it all. Environment, health, economics law, international relations, it's all intertwined. And the more we understand these connections, the better equipped we'll be to tackle the complex environmental challenges we face. Environmental law is no longer a niche area. It's at the forefront of many legal battles that will shape the future of our planet.
Absolutely. And I think this deep dive has shown that environmental law isn't just about protecting trees and animals. It's about safeguarding human rights, ensuring social justice, and creating a more sustainable future for everyone.
Exactly. It's about using the power of the law to create a world where both people and the planet can thrive.
Well said. And to all our listeners out there, remember, the future of environmental protection depends on informed citizens and dedicated legal professionals who are willing to fight for a healthier, more sustainable world.
Couldn't agree more. It's a challenge worth taking on.
Thank you for listening. Subscribe and stay connected with LexTalks.